Hello again. This is video number 2 where I'm going to talk about how you can help read with your child at home. Before I jump into that, I did want to share one more thing with you based off of my last video based on your child's reading level. Some of you had asked, well, how do I know what books to pick out for my child that are at their level? I told you the I pick method. Make sure your child understands what they're reading. If there's 5 or more words that are too hard, the book is probably too hard. But there is in our Scholastic book orders that I send home each month, it does say for a lot of those books what reading level range they fall into. It's a little tricky, and so that's why I want to show you this. It's also attached to the email. This shows you where you can find, if you're looking online or in the catalog, where it lists those reading levels. So if you order books, you can order books that are at your child's level. There are also a lot of online resources. Just type in on Google, find reading level A to Z, something like that into Google. And there's places where that will pop up. Scholastic has a site where you can type in a book title and it will pull up the reading level for you. Now, not all books are on there. It's not always the greatest thing. You may have to search a little bit. But if you are curious, that is another way to find what level a book is. So for reading at home, a lot of you were asking, should I really be challenging my child to be reading books at their level at home? And I say, if they want to, great. If they're picking books that are too hard for them at home, that's okay. If they're picking books that are too easy for them at home, that's okay too, as long as they are reading at home. I told a lot of you at conferences that as long as your child is reading at home, that's wonderful, because at school, they are reading at their level and they are practicing at their level. And so at home, let them read for pure enjoyment. If they want to pretend that they are reading a chapter book, let them. It's amazing what they might be able to learn or what they might be able to pick up from that. If they want to read a little baby book that's way too easy to their younger brother or sister, let them. It is wonderful for them to get into books, get into a variety of books, and not books that are always at their level. Like I said, we do that at school, so also let them read for enjoyment. Some of you said, well, my child wants to read this one book over and over and over. That's great. Reading a book over and over and over builds fluency. It helps your child become a better reader. If they want to read the same book every single night, let them. So basically my one rule for reading at home is let them read whatever they want, with your discretion, of course, but let them enjoy reading. They're made to read at their levels at school, so let reading at home be enjoyable and fun. Not that it isn't at school, but you know what I mean. At home, when you're reading with your child can read independently by themselves. That's great. But children also need to be read too. And so if you want to read to your child, that is wonderful, because they need to be able to see someone modeling good reading. They need to see you reading fluently. They need to hear you going back and rereading a sentence if you miss a word. They need to see how a good reader reads. And so by listening to you, your child is learning. So it is okay if you want to sit down and read with your child at night. That is wonderful. You can just read to them by yourself. That's fine. There's some other fun ways to do it too, and they know these ways. We practice them at school, especially when they are partner reading. We do what we call choral reading. It's exactly like it sounds, choir. You're all doing it together. So you and your child can be reading a book together, both of your voices at once. Another way is echo reading. That's where you read a page, your child hears you read it, and then they reread that same page so that they are seeing, it's a very powerful way to read. They're seeing how they're feeling confident, they're feeling successful because they heard you read it, but then as they're reading it, they're seeing word parts, they're seeing letters, and they're seeing how those things connect. So echo reading is very powerful. You can echo read sentence by sentence, you can echo read page by page, just so that your child can hear and then read and feel successful as well. Another way to read is shared reading, and that is you read a page, your child reads the next page. You read the next page, your child reads the following page, so on and so forth. That you're both taking turns reading, but you don't have it where you're reading first and your child's reading the exact same thing. This is just sharing the book, shared reading. So those are 3 ways that we read in our classroom, especially if we're reading with partners. Like I said, it's great if your child wants to independently read. That's fabulous too. And if you want to read to your child, that's great too, because a good reader knows and learns how to listen as well. When your child gets stuck, if your child is reading to you, a lot of you say, well, I don't know what to do when my child gets stuck on a word. It is so easy to jump in and just tell them the word. Don't do that. I cannot tell you enough. Do not jump in and tell your child the word, because they are not going to learn that way. And so that's why in our classroom we use the phrase coach or time. If your child gets to a word and they're struggling with it, they don't know it, don't jump in, ask them, do you want coach or time? They know that coach means, if they say coach, that means they want you to either help them identify a word part or give them a sound so that they can have something to help them figure out the word. You're coaching them. If they ask for time, that means they just want more time to figure it out on their own. As a beginning reader, as someone learning to read, they do not want to feel pressured. They do not want to feel like you're in a hurry. So if they ask for time, give them time to figure it out. That is going to be huge. And so I, as a teacher, know how easy it is as students are reading to me, how easy it is for me to want to jump in and just tell them the word. And when I find myself doing that, I say, coach or time. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they'll respond with time. They want more time to figure out that word. And that's hard for us as fluent readers to remember to give them that time. So that is a huge strategy to use with your child when you're reading with them at home. Another thing I talked to a lot of you about at conferences was word attack. And that's just my phrase for when your child gets to a word that they don't know. One of the very first things you can do is help them get their mouth ready to say that first word. Oftentimes when they're looking at a word they don't know, they are so overwhelmed by all of the letters that their eyes and mind are just looking at all those letters, trying to find out any sound that they know. And a lot of times they're trying to figure out that last sound or the middle sound. And so I have a book here. If your child was stuck on the word snowman, they might be looking at all of those letters so confused. Their mind is just racing. When I say work on word attack, tell your child, don't worry about the rest of the words. Just look at that first letter, letter S, and get your mouth ready to say that. So when you get to big pig builds a s, have your child make that first sound. And that is going to be huge in helping them figure out the word. Because sometimes when they're looking at all of those words, they're focusing on, oh, I don't remember that letter right there, that W. I forget what W says. And their mind is racing, trying to come up with that sound. And so they're not even looking at the S. A lot of times if they can figure out that first letter, they can find chunks that they know and they can look at the picture, they're going to be able to figure it out. And so when I say word attack, if your child gets to a word, tell them stop, get your mouth ready to say that first sound, that first letter that you see. And that is going to help them be more successful in figuring out those words that they struggle with. Another thing I told a lot of people at conferences is help your child focus on word chunks. Word chunks are huge. It's what we learn all the time in first grade. And some of you are saying, well, I don't know when you learned it. You know, like I send home newsletters, but I don't keep track of when you learned TH or when you learned short U. And so I have this language arts first grade sequence of when we learn all the sounds and the order in which we learn them. I have attached that to the email as well so that you can have that if you want to refer to it. You do not have to by any means, but in case you're curious, in case you wanted to know. That way when you're reading, if we go back to the snowman page and your child gets to snowman, if we've learned the AN word chunk, say, look at, there's a part in there that you know. Find parts that you know, find chunks that you know. Same thing with any other words. If students can get their mouth ready to say the first sound, if students can look for chunks that they know, they are more than likely going to be able to figure out what that word is. Reading is all about strategies and being able to find and use those strategies. And so helping your child get ready to attack the word with that first sound and helping your child look for those chunks is really going to be beneficial and helping them to read at home. So 3 big takeaways from this video is when you're reading with your child and they get stuck, ask them, coach or time. If they want to be coached, if they need some help, have them attack that first letter. Get that first letter sound ready. And last thing, have them look for word chunks. Have them look for parts that they know and that will help them be able to figure out the word. So hopefully, second video here, reading with your child at home, hopefully that gave you some tips, some pointers about how you can best help your child read at home. I have one more video, and that's going to be telling you about some more reading strategies that you can use.